And I'm happy that the debate has escalated now to a point that it is going to be seriously looked at, not just by the APC, but by every Nigerian.
But they also think, I mean, there are thoughts that, yes, perhaps that would be one way to go, to decongest the exclusive list of the federal government and also ensure that, revenue goes to the state to be able to meet those responsibilities. But then there's also the question of how the money is earned in the first instance. Some people believe that at the very heart of restructuring will be an economic restructuring. They think that, this Abuja ritual of going to, share money at the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, needs to stop, that it ought to be the other way around. And perhaps that's the only way we will ensure growth around. What is the thinking of the APC governors in that direction?
We don't disagree. At one time, it was the regional governments that give the residual that runs the federal government. That is correct. But that was 60 years ago. Since then, a lot has changed. The fundamental structure, political and economic structure of the country has changed. And today, while we can move towards that, my objective as governor of Kaduna State is to take us where Lagos is, where 80% of our budget comes from internally generated revenue. That's where Lagos is. I was joking with Governor Ambode yesterday when we were talking about this restructuring thing, suggesting to him that Lagos should be the one threatening to secede from Nigeria because they don't need federation account allocation. All other states do. So we need to have a transitional period in which states will be compelled to grow. For instance, we could have a constitutional amendment that will put some hard budget constraints. What I mean by that is no state should be allowed to have a public service that it cannot pay from its internally generated revenue, for instance. Because part of the reason why we have huge bureaucracies in some poor states is because free money is coming. I do not believe that the size of the civil service in Kaduna State should be the same as Lagos, which should be nearly the same as Yobe State. Each state should look and cut its costs according to what it can afford. This monthly federation account allocation has made some state governments quite irresponsible. Okay, but this cannot be. It's not like on and off switch of the lamp in our room. This cannot be done overnight. We have to sit down, think through a plan and a timeline in which this addiction to federation account allocation will be resolved by compelling states to do certain things. Yesterday, for instance, at the Governors Forum, we were discussing the issue of minimum wage, and all the governors complained that the state governments accused of not paying salaries, when the reality is they don't have enough money to pay the numbers of people that they're compelled by political inheritance and other social pressures to employ. Many of us do not believe we need the number of people that work for the government. Okay, so if you want to adjust the wage up, okay, with the current levels of income that we have, the numbers must go down. But no one wants to hear that, and there are consequences of injecting a large number of people in the labor market. So it's a very tricky balance that requires an honest conversation and a timeline for which we all grow out of this addiction. It cannot be done overnight. It cannot be done overnight. Nigeria has been atomized into 36 states. That is not the ideal situation.
Let's quickly go to Lagos now and let my colleagues come in with their questions.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Okay.
Yeah, just I was going to ask you, you had said that no matter how long it took you, you were going to arrest those who were issuing quit notices and making statements that ought not to be, because if you did it previously, you have to be seen to be consistent. But there's been comments credited to former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, saying they should not be arrested, that rather there should be dialogue with them. Has your stance changed about getting them arrested?
No, our stance has not changed. Governor Kwankwaso is entitled to his opinion and his own political views. But as the Chief Security Officer of Kaduna State, we will not tolerate irresponsible people coming and making inciting statements that violate our penal code. As we speak, the Ministry of Justice is framing charges to take to court and get a bench warrant to arrest them. We are going to insist on arresting and bringing them to justice. That kind of conduct is unacceptable to the Kaduna State government. It may be acceptable to Kwankwaso as governor of Kano when he was governor, but not to the current government of Kaduna State.
How is your manifesto's first line of thoughts concerning this country, which says devolution of powers? How positioned is the APC now to carry out that particular part of your memorandum?
I didn't hear the question. I didn't hear you.
Your manifesto talks about devolution of powers. How positioned or how prepared is the APC to begin to carry out that particular item on your manifesto?
Yeah, as I explained earlier, I think the APC has, in very practical terms, begun to do this. I have given the examples of the federal-state cooperation in mining, even without constitutional amendment. I have given the examples of how we are looking at creating state police. This is all in our manifesto. We have had challenges due to the problems of the party has had in the leadership of the National Assembly, but I think this is on its way to being resolved, so these issues can be looked at in a more orderly manner. But we have been committed to this, and as I said, the government under President Buhari, in the opinion of many of the state governors, has done more to actually give responsibilities and involve the state governments in policy making at the highest levels via the National Economic Council than any government in history. Governors that have served in the Economic Council have told us in the past they did not know what the excess crude account contained. They didn't know what was contained in the Natural Resources Development Fund or the Ecological Fund. But under this leadership, President Buhari and Vice President Osinbajo have ensured that we get monthly briefs on the status of all these federation assets, and so on. I think these are all part of the steps taken to involve the states more in national governance.
If you can hear me, just pardon us. We need to go to break, but we'll come back to you and let you conclude your thoughts in just a moment. Join us again.